Well, since the draft's been over, which of course was almost over a week ago at this point for the Saints and of course for all of the NFL, we already got something big to talk about here for the New Orleans Saints, and it mostly revolves around one position, and it's something big to watch for in this upcoming training camp and everything else that's going to be happening during this summer, and mostly talking about one specific position, and that of course is wide receiver, mostly making the wide receiver room really interesting after the team of course went on to draft 3 wide receivers in this past draft class. Now, mostly, of course, it was actually thanks to me finding this article by the New Orleans Saints Sports Illustrated by Jim Derry, which of course was really posted yesterday, not Wednesday, Monday, as of me recording this video today here on Tuesday. Excuse me. Today here on Tuesday, mostly talking about how interesting this wide receiver room is now, especially with the addition of 3 new wide receivers coming out of this past draft class in Jordan Tyson, Bryce Lance, and Barian Brown, along with also potentially knowing that that officially that is going to be a part of the roster is going to be Chris Olave and Devon Vele. So the question is, with us having these 5 wide receivers potentially going on to be a part of the final roster. The question is, with the stacked wide receiver room that we have, who is going to make the final roster? Now, of course, that is what we'll be going over in this video. We're mostly going to be going over the certain players, giving you guys my thoughts of who I think could have a chance to potentially make the final 53-man roster, especially in the wide receiver room for the Saints. So yeah, but also don't forget, guys, let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments, I should say, down below. Definitely would appreciate it, so definitely don't forget to comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell for future upcoming videos here on the BrewCrew channel. So, of course, remember, I do football content like this, also do wrestling content as well. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. And also, speaking of course, the draft a little bit, if you guys have not seen my draft review video, definitely go check it out. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below, so definitely go check it out. Now, with that being said and all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the video as we'll go over, of course, the players. Now, we know the players that officially could be making the final roster is, of course, about 5 players, along with Devon Vele, Chris Olave, and then, of course, the 3 rookies, Jordan Tyson, Bryce Lance, and of course Barian Brown, in my opinion, are the wide receivers that could have a high chance, especially Bryce Lance and Barian Brown. Mostly Barian Brown because of course, his return ability, and we do need a sort of speedy return guy. But of course, these other wide receivers could be valuable as, of course, the 4th or 5th receiver to, of course, have some sort of playing time, but also help Barian Brown in the return game. Now, the first 2 I'm going to talk about is, of course, the highest 2 receivers that could have a chance, mostly, of course, for this article, and, of course, in my opinion, as well, a little bit of, and, of course, fans as well, who believe they could make the final roster and be a part of the team going into next season. Now, before we get into the players, real quick, I do want to say, of course, the question would be, is how many wide receivers do a team usually have in the NFL? I looked it up, and mostly it's around 5 or 7 and that they will have on a full roster. Mostly they have around 6. So mostly we could be going around, of course, that 7 or 6 range of having this many players. My best bet, because if we have a lot of talented receivers, is we'll probably go to that 7 wide receiver range, but you'll probably mostly see a lot of playing time, especially on the offense side, a lot of playing time with, of course, probably around 4 or 5 receivers. You'll probably see more. The other 2 you'll probably mostly see on special teams as return guys. One of them, in my opinion, I believe will actually be Barian Brown. But the first player to go over is Jalen Polk. Now, Jalen Polk was actually acquired by the Saints last year from the New England Patriots. Of course, he only played in a handful of games with the New England Patriots, only catching a measly 12 passes in his career. He sadly, of course, did not play a single game, though, this past season, as, of course, he was dealing with an injury. Missing the entire 2025 season. It was a shoulder injury. So, honestly, there is also fans that fans that, of course, are potentially excited to see a healthy Jalen Polk potentially make the final roster. To make the final roster for the New Orleans Saints. Now, in my opinion, I would actually like that, but honestly, out of these two, I think he could have the lowest chance because there's some other wide receivers that I could see the team taking a chance on to also be a part of the final roster. Now, the other receiver that has a really high chance to potentially make the final roster is Trey Palmer. Now, I don't want to take too much time on Trey Palmer. I've already done a video about him, mostly, of course, after I saw an article or a post on Instagram as well, mostly talking about Trey Palmer sort of being an X factor of sorts in this wide receiver room going into potentially next season. Now, this, of course, was before the draft and before everything else. Potentially, he could still be seen as an X factor for this offense if he goes on to make the final roster. And I believe he does have a really good high chance of making the final roster and being part of the team. Now, I probably do see him as, of course, one of the slot receivers at the third or fourth wide receiver slot, along with having big playing time, probably more playing time than Bryce Lance or Barry Brown, if of course you have them. Probably Jalen Polk as well, but Trey Palmer has the more experience out of all the receivers that of course I just said, and also he could be a valuable returner as well, as you have him possibly do the punt returns and also have be the other returner along with Barry Brown, because he is also a speedy wide receiver, so that of course could also be big in the return game as well. But out of the two, I feel like Trey Palmer is the highest has the highest percentage to potentially go on to make the final roster. But then again, we'll have to, of course, see how this summer will go. Now, these next players, I'm not going to take too long on them, as, of course, I did take a while on these other two. Now, the Trey Palmer video, I actually meant to say, if you guys want to go check out that video, I will leave a link to that video. Leave a link to that video down below if you guys want to go check it out. Definitely an interesting video that I did. So definitely go check it out. So a link to that, and also again a link to the draft video will be down in the description below. So definitely go check out those videos. Would greatly appreciate it. But now back to this video. The rest of the wide receivers that I will talk about, I'm kind of going to go through them a little bit. Not going to talk much about them like I did with the other two, but they are of course interesting enough because they have of course either been a part of the team for a while or have had some moments of sorts with the teams. Now, first is Bub Memes, who of course was a 5th-round pick back in 2024, but he missed all of last season with an ankle injury as well. He hasn't really done much, and of course, the only 9 games of experience through the 2 seasons he has been with us, only catching 1 touchdown off of 9 passes. He does have some pretty good speed, so he could potentially maybe be also a special teamer, but it does not look like. I think out of the other receivers I'm going to say, he has the far lowest chance to potentially make the final main roster. Now, these next 2 players could have an interesting chance of making it in. First is Mason Tipton, who mostly, of course, is a solid receiver. He is yet to have a receiving touchdown as a receiver, but he is really good on special teams. He was mostly our special teams guy when we lost Rashid Shaheed. So we could see him as a special teamer, but probably the only way we could see him be in the final roster, as of course maybe that 5th or 6th wide receiver to mostly be a special teamer, is if we see Barry Brown be put on the practice squad, or if for some shocking reason we end up not, of course, keeping Trey Palmer, is probably the best situation for Mason Tipton to make the final roster and possibly make it into that 5th or 6th slot at the wide receiver, but also be, of course, a big-time starting returner, along with either Barry Brown or Trey Palmer. That's, of course, just in my opinion. So he could have a little bit of a higher chance to potentially make it, but honestly, looking at this, the highest probably chance out of these 3 that could make it in, depending on what happens to the other 2, is Kevin Austin. Now, Kevin Austin has the much better stats. He has 24 receptions, 291 yards, and a touchdown in 16 games he has played with New Orleans in 2 seasons. He was formerly with the USFL back in 2024, and then, of course, he came to New Orleans, where he has spent the past 2 seasons with us, catching, of course, a touchdown and over 200 yards receiving and 24 catches in 16 games. So he has the more games experience, better stats experience. So honestly, Kevin Austin could be that low-ranked backup backup wide receiver. But if he does still be on the roster, I could still see him being a practice squad guy, because you could see him as the rotational receiver if, of course, we have to battle through injuries at the wide receiver position. So out of the three that I just said, Kevin Austin, in my opinion, could be the higher chance of potentially making the final roster, or could see him down the line be a part of the roster, depending on, of course, injuries happening in our wide receiver room. But of course, before we end off this video, there is of course two wide receivers that are long shots, but are shocking that are on this list. First is Ronnie Bell. Now, of course, he's not as big as the other players I did say before. He only played in 2 games in 2025. Of course, he's the wide receiver that had that amazing one-handed grab against the Falcons at the end of last season. So, of course, there is a really low chance for him to make the final roster. But, I mean, we'll just have to see how he performs in the off-season training as well. But probably the biggest one for me is the signed CFL player back that we signed back in January, Damian Alford. I have talked about him a little bit. Now, Damian Alford, I kind of do see making the final roster, because he does have the same build as Devon Vele, and you probably do want to have another sort of receiver like Devon Vele. Now, yes, Jordan Tyson could be your other sort of big man wide receiver, jump ball receiver, or something like that. But to have someone like Devon Vele, I think Damian Alford could be that guy. And also it'd just be interesting because, of course, we literally just signed him back in January out of the CFL, and now mostly looks like he's not going to be able to even make the final roster, as, of course, we are stacked at wide receiver, and it's going to be an interesting thing to look at throughout this offseason to see who is going to make the final roster for, of course, the Saints. Now, in my opinion, the already official to make the final roster, as I said before, is Chris Olave, Devon Vele, and then, of course, in my opinion, should be probably the 3 rookies of Jordan Tyson, Bryce Lance, and Barian Brown. Bryce Lance or Barian Brown are probably the 2 rookies that you could probably see be sent down to the practice squad or something else, but probably mostly down to the practice squad if there's other players who actually perform really great in the off-season, to where the Saints want to have them on the team, and so they send down one of the rookies to the practice squad. That, of course, could be an option that they're going to potentially do. But, of course, besides those 5, the 3 that you definitely should know is going to be starters, and are going to be your 3 wide receivers looking forward, of course, especially the 3 receivers having a lot more playing time than any of the receivers if they stay healthy, is Chris Olave, Devon Vele, and Jordan Tyson. So, of course, those are going to be your 3 big targets for, of course, Tyler Shook. So that, of course, is all the wide receivers. So it's going to be an interesting offseason to look at, of course, especially in the wide receiver room, especially with how many wide receivers this team is going to get. I probably think they are going to be around that 7 or even 6 range of having, but mostly with the amount of receivers and the amount of talent we have at the receiver position, they might go to that 7 mark. And, of course, we'll just have to see who they end up going, especially getting closer and closer to the start of the season and the preseason and regular season in August and September. So yes, so I think that's it for this video. I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. If you guys made it all this way to the point of the video, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget, guys, leave a comment down below and let me know y'all's thoughts. Who do you guys think out of the players I just said? I'll leave a link to this article if you guys want to go check out the names if you can't remember the names, or go back in the video and remember the names or whatever. But I'll leave a link to this article down below if you guys want to go check it out as well. Definitely do that. And again, leave your comments down below what you guys think of my, of course, opinions, and let me know y'all's opinions as well. Who do you guys think they're going to keep? Who do you guys think is going to make the final roster and everything else? Or who do you guys think is going to potentially be cut from the team? And who do you think could be going down to the practice squad and all that? Do you think we're going to have all 3 of the rookies that we drafted on the team? So let me know all those thoughts in the comments down below. Definitely would appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you guys know, as always, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell for future upcoming videos here in the BrewCrew channel, and don't forget to check out the 2 videos I did talk about. Of course, the previous previous football video that I have done, which of course was the Saints draft review video, and also check out the Trey Palmer video as well that I did a while back. Links to both of those videos will be down in the description below, so definitely go do that. Do everything that I said before: like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, I hope you guys have an amazing, blessed day, and also, I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.